What up, everybody? What up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's your boy Chris. I am a mechanical engineer with an MBA. I have taught finance for over 20 years, and it's always nice to be here on Financipation. Okay, I thoroughly enjoy essentially teaching you guys the things that allowed me to build generational wealth for my family, as well as the things that have allowed me to essentially financially emancipate myself from poverty. Okay. So on this particular channel, I always like to talk to guys and women as well about different things that you can do to literally change your financial tree. At the end of the day, I don't care whether you're black, I don't care whether you're white, I don't care whether you're a Democrat, whether you're Republican, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, everybody, for the most part, that you talk to or that you meet, they want you to have some form of financial freedom and some form of what I'm going to call financial emancipation. That's what I like to push. And once again, it does not matter whether you're a Democrat, whether you're Republican, doesn't matter where you're from, what kind of country you're from, what God you pray to. At the end of the day, everybody, for the most part, wants to be financially liberated and they want to be financially free. They don't want to have to live paycheck to paycheck. So, let's get started. Here at Financipation, this is a live Q&A session, so I want you guys to ask your questions away, fire it away. And I want you guys to essentially ask me any types of questions that you may potentially have in regards to trying to build wealth. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and share this thing. We are back. We are back. Let me share a couple more spots. Take a look at like a lot of the Nordic countries, the Swedens of the world, the Norways, places like that, the Scandinavian countries. One of the reasons why those countries right now are doing very well is because the concept of debt in a lot of those countries is pretty much non-existent. And when I say non-existent, the idea that you would walk into a furniture store in Norway or in Denmark and put your essentially your furniture on credit is considered very stupid to do. Like they literally laugh at people that do that kind of thing. And I find it very interesting because you take a look at a lot of the first world countries in the world, the Japans, the Singapores, the Chinas, places like that. Many of the countries in let's say like Germany, for instance, same thing. The concept of debt is so much different from how it is in America. In those countries, the idea of being in debt is considered very stupid. Whereas in our country, debt is literally sold to us as a device or as a commodity. No, that's no different from gold. There's no different from silver. There's no different from an automobile and everything like that. So in our country, debt is considered normal life. It's normal to take $100,000 out of your to take $100,000 loan out and to get going to student debt. It's normal to essentially purchase a car that you can't afford essentially and go into debt to do that. It's normal to get a 30-year mortgage. But in other countries, that's not the case. Debt is considered stupid. And I find it interesting that in our country, that's not the case. So ask away, everybody. Fire your questions away. In regards to building generational wealth, when I first got on my journey, like a lot of Americans that are out there, I was on my own personal debt forbearance program where I was basically paying off a lot of debt. And it's really interesting because as you're going through that journey, sometimes it's going to take people 1 year, sometimes it can take them 40 years. At the end of the day, it's one of those things where you have to figure out a specific plan and what you're going to do moving forward. And that moves me to my concept tonight. What are we going to do as a group of Americans? Because now that Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, what are some of the things you should do to financially thrive? And on my particular channel, everybody, I don't talk left versus right. I don't talk who's in the White House. I talk about your house. And most importantly, what you can do to essentially become the best version of yourself, regardless of who's sitting in the White House. So if you were not aware, we recently had a bill that was passed in the United States Congress called the OBBRA, or the big beautiful bill, as it's colloquially called on a lot of the news channels here in the United States of America. And the reason why I want to have this podcast is because I want to have this live session is because a lot of people have been asking me straight up, Chris, now that this big beautiful quote unquote bill has passed, what's in it and what should we do? And it's a very nuanced question because the bill itself is literally hundreds of pages long and there's a lot of stuff in there. There's some promises that Donald Trump made that he kept, and there's a lot of things in there that are going to essentially hurt the middle class and lower income people. And there are things in there that's going to quote unquote help the middle class, and there's things in there that are going to quote unquote help the poor. There's things in there that are going to quote unquote help the quote unquote wealthy. Actually, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot in there that's going to help the top 1%. If you make over $350,000 a year, that bill is going to quote unquote make you a lot of money in the short term anyway. And there's a reason why I say in the short term. I'll talk about that later in this particular live session. But how do you financially thrive under the big beautiful bill? And this is going to be a session that we're going to talk about because I want to kind of go into the detail in regards to some of the things that I think every American should do, regardless of where you fall on the socioeconomic status. So let's get started. So Now that Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, the first thing, in my opinion, that you should do is make sure your budget is solid. And there's a specific reason why I say that. So the first reason why I say you need to make sure your budget is solid is because I don't care where you stand, where you come from, what you look like, or essentially how much money that you make. You have to make sure that the amount of money that you make and the amount of money that you are making has a dollar value accounted to, and it is completely accounted for. So what do I mean by that? So in Miami, for instance, I run across a lot of quote unquote multimillionaires that live in condos that cost $12,000 a month. And what's really interesting is that a lot of times when I go to these high end luxury type condos and things like that, it blows my mind because you'll see a person literally living lavishly like a king. But when you go to their refrigerator, they ain't got no food. Or when you actually sit down and have a conversation with them, they have absolutely no idea exactly how much money they have coming out and how much money they have going in. They're essentially trust fund babies that live off of mommy and daddy's money. And what's really interesting is that there's a African saying, there's an Asian saying, there's a European saying, there's a Chinese saying that says, in 3 generations, you go from shirt sleeves to short shirt sleeves. If you're not familiar with that, essentially what that's saying is that every 3 generations, you're poor again. So the concept, what's up, Paul? How are you, buddy? How are you, buddy? Any questions that you have, please fire away. Please fire away. So the reason behind that statement is simple: that a person that works extremely hard for their money, their children see how hard mommy and daddy work. So some of that work ethic to some extent rolls off on the child. But the grandchild but the grandchild kind of sees that mommy and daddy aren't really working hard. They see grandpa and grandma, they did work hard, but they're kind of dying off, so they don't get raised by them. So as a result of that, the grandchild sees mommy and daddy aren't really working that hard, so they have no work ethic. And essentially, by the time the great grandchildren show up, which is 3 generations later, the family is poor again because great grandpa worked extremely hard. Grandma didn't work that hard. Mommy and daddy didn't work hard at all. And by the time the great grandchildren show up, all the money that great grandpa or great grandma worked for is done. And that's a concept that I see pretty much in a lot of different cultures and a lot of different places that I've lived and I've worked. I've lived and worked all over the world. So the reasoning behind that is simple. Generally speaking, if you do not train your children exactly on what to do with the money, they're not going to have it for very long. And if you do not have a budget, I don't care how much money you make, I don't care how you look, where you come from, you're not going to have money for very long. And it's for a very, very simple reason. Because the amount of money that you make, you're going to spend it all, or you're not going to invest it, or you're going to put it into a basic brick and mortar account that's charging an APY of 0.01%. And by doing that, you're losing over 2.99% every year through inflation. Why? Because inflation is 3%. So the first thing that you should do now that Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill passed is that you should establish a budget. By all means, everybody, please support your YouTube and your content creators. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that super chat button. Please support the channel as I thoroughly enjoy giving you guys free knowledge. And most importantly, I thoroughly enjoy answering you guys' questions. And a lot of people right now are spooked because of Donald Trump's quote unquote big, beautiful bill. So now that we've talked about establishing a budget, the next thing that I want to talk about is making sure that you have your health care. So if you're not familiar with the fact, going around right now, Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill cuts anywhere from 750 to 1 trillion with a T, 750 billion to 1 trillion with a T dollars from Medicare and Medicaid. Now, if you are not on Medicare and Medicaid, to some extent, I understand, okay, Chris, it doesn't bother me. But let me kind of go into a little more detail about exactly how it could potentially affect you. So Medicare is essentially for the elderly and the disabled. Why? Because you want to care for the people that can't care for themselves. So Medicare is for the elderly and the people who are essentially mentally handicapped. And Medicaid is essentially for the working poor, generally speaking, and children that can't afford affordable health care. So right now, based off of what they're saying, over 17 million with the M Americans could potentially lose their Medicare and their Medicaid, i.e., their health care, over the next 10 to 15 years because of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. So what does that mean for those of us who do actually have health care, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're purchasing it on yourself on the open market through Obamacare, and or you are working a 9 to 5 job and you get it, i.e., through your employer. Say you're a nurse, you get through the hospital that you work at. You're an engineer, you get it through, I don't know, Blue Cross Blue Shield. You get it through whoever you work for. What's going to potentially happen is this: if you have 17 million people that eventually lose their health care, they're essentially going to start going to free clinics if they can get into them, or they're going to run to the hospital or to the emergency room. If that happens, the hospital and emergency rooms are not charities. In other words, they're going to essentially throw the cost of treating the uninsured directly back into us who are insured. So if that's the case, I personally believe that over the next couple of years, our medical bills are most likely going to go up because you're essentially going to have 17 to 20 million Americans that are going to lose their health insurance that they get through Medicare and Medicaid. So how does that affect you and how should you move? Well, this is the first thing I'll say. Make sure that if you were listening to my podcast, you have some form of a way to make a living off of the career that you choose. I don't care whether you go white collar, whether you go and you're a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, or you're a teacher, or whether you go blue collar and you're an electrician, a plumber, or a carpenter, or a steam fitter. You need to make sure that you have a type of career that basically pays you a livable wage. And by doing that, generally speaking, if you work for a company that has 50 or more employees, it almost guarantees you have some form of health care. It may be good, it may be bad, but you have some form of health care. And if that's the case, it could potentially spare you from being one of the poor 17 million with the M souls that are most likely going to lose their health insurance because of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. And once again, I'm not talking left versus right. I'm talking facts. You can look it up yourself. Based off of what they're saying, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that around 17 to 20 million Americans are going to lose their health care. Now, you can't necessarily change that because at the end of the day, Donald Trump is president, and that's what the Republicans and party passed. I mean, the Republicans in Congress passed. What you can do is ensure that you and your family are have health insurance. So, my advice is simple: whether you have to join the military, whether you become a police officer, whether you have to go back to college, whether you join a trade, whether you learn a trade and you join a blue collar industry that actually pushes healthcare for the union members, you have to make sure that on your side of the fence that you are doing what you can to get your health insurance. And the reason why is simple. In the United States of America, over 50% of bankruptcies come from medical emergencies. What that means is that out of every developed country in the world, we are the highest percentage by far of people that declare bankruptcy because they need a new kidney or they have to go on dialysis or they get diagnosed with cancer. And because of that, medical insurance is not a want, it is an absolute need in this journey of life that we call life. And if 17 to 20 million people are about to lose their health insurance because of the big beautiful bill and because they're essentially going to lose their health care, that means those of us who have health care is probably going to get a lot more expensive, and those of us the individuals who do not have health care have better figure out a way to get it. At the end of the day, all of us get sick and all of us are going to get weaker as we get older. Next, now that Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, the second thing that you have to do to financially thrive is you have to have a 9 to 12-month emergency fund. Now, this one I'm going to absolutely hammer and harp home to you guys because at the end of the day, and by all means, everybody, please ask your questions. Please fire them away. This is a live Q&A session, and I thoroughly enjoy answering any questions that you guys have. Okay, so by all means, please ask the questions. Please fire away. Please fire away. So, as I said earlier, what's up, Paul? How you doing, boy? How you doing? As I said earlier, everybody, now that Trump's big, I'm 45, single, no kids, zero interest, debt of about 12%, 5,000 saved, no investments with military experience and logistics and side hustle in wholesaling. All right, give me 1 second, Paul. Let me pull that question right back up. Got you. A couple questions that came in. And side hustle and wholesaling houses, any advice to get ahead? Got you. So my first question is this. You said you're 45, single, no kids, zero interest, debt of about 12,000, 12K, 5K saved, no investments with military experience. All right, my first thing I'll say is this, Paul. If you have zero interest debt of about $12,000, that's telling me you probably owe about $12,000 to a family member or a friend. You have $5,000 saved. So this is my advice to you, okay? Take it or leave it. I would say if I were you, the first thing you should do is pay off that $12,000 debt. And the reason why I say it, if it's zero interest, I'm not sure if that means you owe money to your girl, you owe money to a family member, you owe money to whoever it is, but you want to get that debt out of your life. And the reason why I say that is because it is significantly easier, not only financially, but mentally, to start paying off your debts. I'm sorry, to start investing your money once you essentially pay off all of your debts. And yep, I get it. Even if it's zero interest on the debt, I'm still going to tell you the same thing. Pay off that debt. And the reason is simple. At the end of the day, depending on who you owe that debt to or what entity you owe that debt to, at some point, it's going to start negatively affecting your relationship with that individual or with that entity or whatever it is by owing that debt. So my advice is pay off that debt first. even if it's you only can pay $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month or $500 a month, whatever it is, pay off that debt as soon as you possibly can. And the reason why is because $12,000 realistically, honestly, is not that much, and it's only going to take you, let's say, a year to pay that debt off. Once you pay off that debt, at that point, Paul, you can start going absolutely ham on your investments. So let's say you pay off that debt, right? Let's say it takes you 6 months to pay off that debt. You say you pay $2,000 a month to pay off that debt. As soon as you're done paying off the debt, I want you to take that same $2,000 and I want you to essentially go to Charles Schwab, Vanguard, and or Fidelity. And I want you to open an account with them, primarily a brokerage account. And when you open that brokerage account, I want you to start investing essentially into your brokerage account. And by investing into that brokerage account, it's going to allow you to start building a form of generational wealth. Another thing too, I'll say is this, Paul. Whatever you said, you're 45. Whatever company that you work for, I want you to walk into your HR manager's office, and I want you to essentially ask them, "Do you have a 401k?" And if they do have a 401k or a 403b or a TSP, whatever it is, I want you to ask them, "Do you have a 401k?" And if they do, ask them what percentage of the 401k that they match. So by doing that, it's going to allow you to essentially get free money. So for instance, let's use real numbers. Let's say your company matches the first $2,000 you put into your 401k. That would mean if you put $2,000 into your 401k essentially Valentine's Day, by Christmas Day, they're going to basically pay you an extra $2,000 for free. So you put $2,000 into your 401k, but you walk away with $4,000. Why? Because you got $2,000 for free. Or your company says, yeah, we'll match the first 100% of the first 3% you put into your 401k. So my personal advice is put 3% into your 401k and keep moving. Why? Because it is free money. And when you make your investments, make sure you're investing into the stock market. I personally am a very big REIT guy. I'm a big ETF guy. So at the end of the day, make sure you're investing your money into things that are going to actually make you money. And by doing that, it's going to literally change your entire generational tree. So first off, my advice is pay off that debt. My second thing I would advise you to do, Paul, is to once you pay off that debt, whatever percentage you were paying every month to pay off the debt, immediately start investing that money, whether it's in your 401k, whether it's in your Roth IRA, or whether it's in your brokerage account. I personally think all three of them are very good investments, and there's pros and cons to all of them. If you're investing into your IRA, I would say invest into a Roth IRA. Why? Because at the end of the day, the pre-tax contributions, when you basically pay into it, you're paying tax today and you're not getting taxed tomorrow. So you have a much better idea about what you're going to be doing. Also, if you are 45 years old, Paul, and you said you're single with no kids, and you only have $5,000 saved in retirement, at this point, I'm going to be honest with you. I think you should possibly consider. You said you have a side hustle. How much money are you making on that side hustle? Is that side hustle lucrative? Is that side hustle to the point where you're making so much money off of it that it's actually a reliable stream of income? By reliable stream of income, I mean it's making over $250 to over $500 a month. If that's the case, Paul, I want you to take that side hustle and start immediately investing that also into your brokerage account. Or if you have a legal EIN number, to invest that into your SEP IRA. And the reason why I say that is because these are all tax efficient accounts that essentially build wealth significantly faster than throwing in some Wells Fargo or some Bank of America or some Chase card, which give you an APY of like 0.01%. So that's my personal advice to you. Pay off your debt first. Make sure you have an emergency fund. I'm gonna get back to that in a little bit. And then also, Paul, I want you to make sure that you are investing your money into a tax-efficient account, like your health savings account, like your 401k, like your Roth IRA, like a SEP IRA, or like a brokerage account. Okay, so that's my advice. I'm also going to piggyback off of that of one other thing, Paul. So you mentioned you have zero interest debt, $12,000. Thank you for the guidance, sir. I appreciate it. And by all means, everybody, please support your content creators. Please hit that super chat button. Please drop $1. Please drop $5. Please drop $10. If you're feeling really gully, please drop $20. At the end of the day, it goes to the feed the family fund, i.e., my family, and I appreciate it. Okay, so if you're feeling blessed right now, you like the content that I'm giving you, please support your YouTubers and your content creators. Okay, so as I said, the next thing you should do now that Donald Trump's big beautiful bill has passed is make sure you have a 9 to 12 month emergency fund. So by all accounts, a lot of economists, both left and right, independent, Democrat, Republican, left, blue, red, and green, are all kind of saying the same thing. That right now our economy, to some extent, is headed toward a recession. And whether that's true or not, who knows? I do think that for a variety of reasons that there is a very good possibility, given what's going on with the Fed right now, given what's kind of going on with the trade wars, tariffs, things like that, that we and the amount of people that are losing their homes right now. I do think that there's a very good possibility that we are headed toward a 2008 style recession. And whether we are or we not, time will tell. But what I do know is this: whether we're headed towards a recession or not, you have to make sure that you have liquid cash that is available to you and your family in the event you got to get out of Dodge for whatever reason. You got to get out, get up and leave, or two, you want to make sure that you have the type of liquid cash that's available so you can take advantage of those once in a generation, once every 25-year type occurrences, which could potentially happen relatively soon. And the reason why I say that is this: let's say you have $100,000 of liquid cash sitting around in a high interest account or sitting around somewhere where you can actually is liquid and you can actually get to it. Let's say the home next door to you goes into foreclosure. And because you have that, and it goes into foreclosure because all the other homes in your block essentially are also going into foreclosure. Now, this may seem far fetched, but in places like Arlington, Virginia, in places like cities like Miami, this is actually happening all over the country right now because for a variety of reasons, the primary breadwinners are being either sent out of the country, they're being deported, and or they're just losing their jobs, and as a result, people are losing their homes. And as much as it sucks to say, if a person next door to you is losing their home, and you can essentially buy that home, put down a very large payment and buy that home and then put a tenant into that home. That is a phenomenal way to build wealth. It's called essentially being a real estate investor. So for instance, let's say that the house next door to you goes into foreclosure, right? And let's say it's a 4-bedroom house and the mortgage is $2,500 a month. Well, if you essentially have the money to hop on that deal, you can essentially get that house. And if you're close to a college, a university, or a place that has a lot of jobs that are for working professionals, it's not that challenging to find basically 4 tenants to live in that one house. So you basically rent out each room for $1,000, and if your mortgage is $2,500, but the rent itself is, but you're bringing in $4,000 a month, that means you have a positive cash flow, everybody, of $1,500. In other words, every year you are going to be making thousands of dollars a year off of that house just by having paying tenants inside of it. And the reason why you have access to that deal is because you had $100,000 in your emergency fund that was sitting literally waiting for an emergency such as this. So boost up your emergency fund, everybody. One, this is generally good practice because you don't know honestly what could happen. You could get fired, your wife could get sick, your kids could get sick, you could have surgery, whatever it is, you could lose your job. And as a result of that, you want to have that cushion where you can kind of sit back and just chill and relax as far as until a better job comes around. And or you want to make sure that you have the type of cash that's available. So when one of those once in a lifetime, once in a generation kind of opportunities comes up, you are good to go to take it. So get that 9 to 12 month emergency fund. And also goes back to my original point. Make sure you have that budget. So by making sure you have that budget, why am I saying it? Why am I continuing to harp on that? Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that $2. Thank you, sir. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate the fact you guys like my content. Also, everyone, just so you know, here at Financipation, I drop free content every Sunday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Additionally, with the rising cost of college, I have written a scholarship book. By all means, please go online to Amazon.com. Please go ahead and purchase a copy. They make great gifts as well because at the end of the day, everybody I know that wants to go to college, they're looking at ways to basically go to college for a lot less money. And at the end of the day, when I went to undergrad and I got my engineering degree, I basically went to undergrad for free. Okay. And in this book, I detail how I got over essentially what would amount today to over $300,000 of free money to obtain my engineering degree and to go to college for free. It literally changed the course of my financial life for the fact I had no student loan debt, at least in undergrad. So by all means, everybody, please check it out. Please check it out. Go to Amazon.com. It's called the Scholarships, the Golden Road to Free Money. And I drop content as well. If you like what I'm talking about, I drop content as well every Sunday, at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. So why you want that budget? It's quite simple. You didn't know how much money you have going out, and you know how much money you have coming in. And after you track your monthly expenses for about 3 months, it gives you an idea. Okay, I'm making, let's say, $5,000 every month, and I'm spending $4,000 every month. That means I have $1,000 every month that I can play with. I can either go to the club, make it rain, and lose all that money, which I highly advise you don't do. I can go on a vacation, lose all that money, which I can go on a vacation and lose all that money, which I highly advise that you don't do. Or I can invest that $1,000 into the stock market, into gold, into real estate, into a real estate investment trust, and things, something like that. And by doing that, everybody, by tracking your spending, it allows you to realize, okay, if I spend $4,000 every month, that means my 12-month emergency fund will be $48,000. And once you get that emergency fund, everybody, it unlocks an absolute world of possibilities. And I'm also going to say this too about the emergency fund. This is one of those things where I want you to be patient with it, okay? Because it could literally take you about 5 to 10 years to build a fully stocked emergency fund. And the reason why I say that is simple. We live in the real world. In the real world, you're going to get married. Your wife's going to get pregnant. You might get pregnant. You might have surgery. You probably will get fired once or twice in your career. You probably will work for a scumbag boss, and one day you just get up and quit, and you're essentially on unemployment for a month or two, looking for a better job. Your car, your air conditioner might break down. Your house might get set on fire. At the end of the day, everybody, in the real world, we deal with real world problems, and life be life, and it happens to everybody. So as a result of that, $1,000 a month you're saving for 5 or 6 months, and you get $10,000 in your emergency fund, you could literally lose all $10,000 of that in that emergency fund overnight if one of your kids gets sick, or if you fall and hurt yourself, or if you get fired, or if something happens, you have to basically give $10,000 to your brother who's about to lose his house. At the end of the day, this 9 to 12 month emergency fund could potentially take you the better part of 5 to 6 years. But you know what? It's like building a building. What you see at the top is almost just the same size on the bottom. If you see a 500-foot building, it has piles that basically go about 100 to 150 feet. So it's almost a third as tall underneath it that you can't see as it is on the top. And if you see a tree is literally as tall on the bottom, the roots that is, as it is on the top. And what does that mean in English? In other words, if you want to have a very tall building, you have to have a very good foundation. If you see a very tall tree that's standing, it has an extremely good foundation that has roots in the ground. And the reason why I bring that up is this: your emergency fund is very similar to having a great foundation. Early in my financial life, I did not have a very good emergency fund. I actually had a horrible emergency fund. So I just put all my money into the stock market, put all my money into assets, not liabilities. I put all my money into investments. And then when life actually started happening, I literally got hit. I got hit on the head financially, and I had to wake myself. Okay, I've been investing all this money into things that legitimately are making me a bunch of money, but I had a very poor foundation because my emergency fund was very small and almost non-existent. And when life happened to me, it really woke me up to the fact that, okay, Chris, you need to get your foundations and everything back in order. And that's what I essentially had to do. So be very, very patient in this step of the emergency fund, because literally it may take you the better part of 5 to 6 years to get to. You think your wife should contribute financially to the household? If so, how much? Absolutely. Why? Absolutely. Absolutely, your wife should contribute to the household, but there's a lot more to contribute to something than just doing it financially. Now, you asked me specifically financially. Do I think my wife should contribute financially? Yes, but you also have to keep this in mind. Whether your wife contributes financially or not, whether you contribute financially or not, at the end of the day, I've always kind of been in the mindset that as a guy, you honestly should be out here working very hard. I'm not saying you need the primary. I'm not saying you need to be the primary breadwinner, but to me, at the end of the day, as a guy, you probably should get up, leave the house, and go make money. Now, if you and your wife have an arrangement where she makes more money, you want to stay home with the kids, cool. That respect is mad respect. Do what works for you in a relationship. But I honestly do think, yes, I think that is not a bad idea for your wife to pay some of the bills at home. And or if you're in a situation where you can live off of your salary, 100% the man's salary, I think the wife should be investing her money very, very aggressively, I might add, into the stock market, into real estate, into a business. And I also think that she should to some extent be running some type of home-based business. About that wallet. What's good, sir? What's up, fam? What up? What up? By the way, congratulations for speaking at FinCon. I haven't had a chance, Anthony, to congratulate you on that one. So congratulations for speaking at FinCon. Crazy thing was that this year I wanted to actually speak at FinCon myself, but I've had a lot of things pop up with the business, a lot of things pop up in corporate America. So yeah, definitely, man. I will be definitely cheering you on when you're speaking up there. And shout out to it. We need more representation for Black men that are talking about financial literacy and financial freedom and financial emancipation. So I was very happy to see that you got selected for FinCon, brother. And next year I will be on that stage with you. All right, yeah, that's that. You got this from next year. Absolutely, I should have got on there this year. That's a whole nother damn story though. But yeah, we'll talk about that later when I see you in person. Congratulations though. By the way, because you're a guest speaker, Anthony, do you get to go to FinCon for free? I'm curious. How does that work? How does that work? Yeah, they told me I had to actually go to more FinCon, so I will damn, you did get to go for free. All right, yeah. Now, I absolutely yes, I will absolutely be on that stage next year talking about the gospel of financial literacy and financial emancipation and freeing yourself from the chains of debt as well as the chains of corporate America. So I will absolutely be on that stage next year. Trust and believe that. All right, guys, let me get back to answering your question to God. Yeah, to me, it doesn't make me remember buy your ticket on the last day. I got it for 99. Yep, I got mine. I got mine as well. I got mine too. I got it for the same price. To answer your question though, the God, yeah, I don't think it makes you any less of a man or any more of a man if you pay the bills. I don't think it makes your wife any less of a woman or any more of a woman. She pays bills if she doesn't pay bills. At the end of the day, that's an arrangement that you and your spouse have to make, and you and your girl got to make. Um, like I said, I will say this. I do think that regardless of whatever income your wife or your girl or you're bringing into the household, you should be investing bare minimum at least 15 to 20% of what you are doing into the stock, into some kind of investment, whether it's a stock market, whether it's your HSA, whether it's a SEP IRA, or whether it's you basically just investing your money into a business. At the end of the day, everybody, we live in capitalism, and in the great gift of capitalism in America, we have the gift, and I do legit mean the gift, to be able to simply, with two mouse clicks, to be able to invest into mutual funds or index funds or gold or crypto or Bitcoin. I'm not even a big crypto or gold guy, but at the end of the day, everybody, literally within two mouse clicks, you can essentially change your entire family tree. And I'm saying it to say this: I married an immigrant. My wife is from a third world country. Love her and always will. But it's very interesting when I talk to her cousins. They ask me questions like, "Why is it that in America all you have to do is just study and you can be successful? Why don't more Americans study? Or why is it that in America, if all you have to do is go online and just click, 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 and you can invest in the stock market, why aren't more Americans investing?" Yes, depending on the country that you live in, you can do that to some extent in the Nigerias and in the Trinidad and Tobago's and the Cuba and in the Puerto Ricos. I'm sorry, and then the Colombias and places like that. But it's so much easier, everybody, to build wealth in America than people realize, and that's one reason why I say you got to get your financial house in order. If your financial life is a building, having a solid emergency fund is just like having a solid foundation for your building, and that is the next thing you have to do in order to financially succeed under Donald Trump's big beautiful bill. All right, got you. Keep it moving. By all means, everybody, please support your boy. At the end of the day, we have to support our content creators. We do this for the love, but we also do this for there also is a financial component to everything that we do. If you like honestly not the knowledge and advice that I'm giving you, I want you to basically go online, subscribe to my YouTube channel, go to my Facebook group. Number 4, like for the day. Appreciate that. Hey, Anthony, about that as well. Do they pay for your hotels if you're a speaker as well? And your plane ticket, I'm kind of curious. Is it like a gamer thing where if you're a guest speaker, you're a guest competitor, they fly you out there for free to give you food and they give you a free ticket? Or do you just get the FinCon ticket for free, but you still got to pay for hotel, you still got to pay for lodging? How does that work, bro? How does that work? If you are not familiar, everybody, FinCon, Financial Conference, is essentially a conference primarily for guys like me, financial money nerds. And essentially, for about 3 days, they lock you in a hotel with other financial money nerds. And we sit there and talk about, once again, the gospel of financial literacy. And I love FinCon because I'm an engineer by trade. And if I go to an engineering conference, it's typically very stale, very male, and very pale, and it's very rudimentary as far as the individuals that you meet. I like FinCon because it's like you're locked in a room with about 1,000 entrepreneurs, and all of you guys speak the same language of money. And it's a very different vibe when you're kicking it with 9 to 5ers who go to work every day and punch a paycheck versus kicking it with guys that are entrepreneurs and that are financial content creators, whether they're bloggers, whether they're authors, whether they're YouTube content creators, or whether they're people like me that are all three. So it's a powerful conference, and I would advise everybody that's kind of serious about building their that's serious about becoming a YouTube content creator to go to conferences that teach you how to be a YouTube content creator. Okay. So now that Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, the next thing that I want you to focus on in order for you to financially thrive is make sure you have a side hustle. So in the United States of America, as I say all the time on my channel, because I also push the concept of being an entrepreneur, you have to have a side hustle or some kind of business that you do on the side to essentially supplement your income. And the reason why I say that is simple. First off, it gives you a different level of wanting to work when you are working for yourself. I built Financipation. This is one of my businesses. And as a result of that, this is a business that this is a monetized channel, and this is a financial consulting business. What is a good entry level side hustle? Whatever, Anthony, whatever about that wallet that makes you stay up at night. So the thing about having a side hustle is you have to find a pain point. You have to find something that a problem that says, why doesn't anyone do this? Why does this problem exist? Why has anyone created A, B, and C to fix this problem? So as a result, whenever you think that is God's way of saying that's a business you need to start. So for instance, I'll get very personal. I always wondered as a little black boy, why is it that as I get older, my cousins and my older aunts and my grandparents are getting poorer and poorer, but the white people, the Latino people, and the Asian people that they work with at Chrysler or in the Army or at Kmart, those people seem to get wealthier the older they got. As a little 5 or 6 year old boy, I was wondering, why is that always the case? Why is it the older we become, the more poor my people become, but the older those people become, it seems like they're doing better and better. That was the genesis of me starting. That was the genesis of me getting an engineering degree, and that was the genesis of me essentially getting my MBA. Because with the engineering degree, I said engineers never go broke. That's not actually true, but generally speaking, engineers I knew very early in life are good at math and they got money. So that was one reason why I got an engineering degree. And there, to some extent, there's some truth to that because as it basically stands, engineers and teachers, surprisingly, are the two professions that actually produce the most millionaires on a 9 to 5 salary, which is very interesting. I actually do a podcast about that. So, and the MBA came from a very different reason. I was like, okay, cool. Now that I got the engineering degree to teach me, that basically teaches me how to make money, the MBA teaches me what to do to get it. So, my side hustle, Anthony, was very simple. I wanted to start teaching people who look like us, essentially, how to build wealth. Simple as that. And eventually, when I actually finished grad school, I realized it wasn't just our people that quote unquote needed to get financially literate. I saw that with Asians, I saw it with Indians, I saw it with Muslims, I saw that with Christians, I saw that with white people, I saw that with brown people, I saw it with Latino people. Immediately realized as I was going through grad school that everybody in America, for the most part, is struggling with financial literacy. And the reason why they're struggling with financial literacy is because it's flat out typically not taught the level that it should in our churches, at our mosques, on our basketball courts, on our soccer fields, and our bowling alleys, and pretty much all across America. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me start a business that basically teaches people of all races and colors essentially how to build wealth. That was what kept me up at night. That was how I did it. Another thing too, I was an athlete my entire life, so I started business as being a personal trainer. I actually still am a certified personal trainer. I work out 7 days a week, so I have a personal training business as well. Why? Because I always wondered, for lack of a better word, why I work with so many fat engineers. I was keep it completely honest with you, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm a personal trainer. I work around a bunch of people that are obese. This is a very easy business to start, and I actually still do make some money off of that. So that's how you start a business. A good entry level side hustle is whatever keeps you, what name a problem that keeps you up at night and figure out a way to solve it. And when you figure out a way to solve it, figure out how to give that knowledge to the masses. For me, it was Financipation. For me, it was Mackay Academy from and Kelco Solutions and things like that. So that's a side business you can start. Okay, make sure everybody that whatever side business that you have is actually just that, a business. Because if your business does not have an employment identification number, i.e., an EIN number, it ain't a business. Period. I can't tell you how many. It is very, very, very sad to say this. I've even met people at financial conferences that have quote unquote businesses. They got thousands of YouTube followers, and they have hundreds of people that follow their blog who never took the time to actually patent their name and never took the actual time to get an EIN number. So what ended up happening was a person realized that this individual, like Miss Monet, did not actually have EIN number or had their business or had their business with the LLC, and as a result of that, they ended up losing their business if somebody basically bought it. What's the difference between a side hustle versus a part time? In my opinion, the side hustle should become the part time, and then it becomes from the part time to the full time. To me, the difference between a side hustle and a part time is that with the side hustle, as I said earlier, it grows into being a part time job, and eventually that part time job should become a full time job. And I would also say that with a side hustle, it's a passion. It's something that you're passionate about, but you ain't making no money off of it. Whereas with a part-time job, as it says earlier, as part-time job, you are actually making a legitimate coin off of it. And legitimate coin can be you going from $5 a month to $15 a month to $100 a month to $100 a day, and it basically builds itself up. I've always been of the mindset, particularly because 80% of Americans follow W-2, that your side hustle slash part-time job should be just that, something that you do from 9 to 5. I'm sorry, from 5 to 9. I.e., you get off work at 5 o'clock and you work it for 9. You work it to 9 p.m. at night. And if you do that for a couple of years, generally speaking, your side hustle eventually starts supplanting your actual income. I've seen it with my own businesses and stuff like that. So that's how I answer that question about that wallet. So yeah, people, questions before I bounce. Any other questions, anybody? I'm going to be continuing this series, by the way, everybody, about how to financially thrive during the Trump economy because how to interview for a new job for a pay raise. This is the way I've always done that, Paul. Practice is perfect. It's kind of like talking to a beautiful girl. If you go on one date a year, your game is going to be whack and you're not going to get no women. Simple as that. If you go on one date a week, you'll get comfortable with it. And as a result of that, you'll get better at it. Job interviews are the exact same way. Go on as many job interviews as you possibly can without your actual job finding out what you're doing. Simple as that. Because at the end of the day, they're going to ask you the same 25 questions, every company. I don't care whether, and I've done engineering, I've been in construction, I've been in finance. All three industries ask, generally speaking, the same 25 questions, period. And it's like going on a date with a beautiful girl. The more of them you go on, the better you get at it. And the more job interviews you go on, the better you get at them. So that's my advice. The best way to simply ask for a pay raise is simple. Get extremely good at your job, for one. Have the credentials, essentially, that make you good at your job. And that's the way you ask for a pay raise. So, for instance, in the engineering world, we have a certification called the Engineering Training Certification. If you pass or the EIT. If you pass the EIT, you automatically get a 15% pay raise. And then 4 years after passing the EIT, you have to pass something called the Professional Engineering Exam, which is at an eight, I think it's 6 hours now. It's a 6 hour exam. When you pass the Professional Engineering Exam, you are a licensed mechanical. You are a licensed mechanical, electrical, chemical, structural, or mechanical engineer. Once you pass that, you get a 25% pay raise. So just off gate, regardless of whether you have any experience, off gate, your floor has been raised to the point where they have to pay you a minimum salary because you are a professional engineer. Another thing you can do as well, if you're in the engineering world, you can get your PMP license, your PMP certification, or in my case, your MBA. So by getting those certifications, automatically people have to pay you more money because you are more qualified for the position that you were interviewing for. So that's another way you get a pay raise. And then lastly, as I said earlier, not only do you go on as many job interviews as you possibly can, not only do you get the certification that you need to get, you also make sure you get your experience up. When I was building data centers, I specifically went after the most challenging, the hardest, and the most complicated jobs that were available to mechanical engineers. And as a result of that, when I basically was doing my data centers, I specifically worked for some of the biggest a-holes, some of the most aggressive deadlines, some of the hardest jobs. And the reason why I did that was because I knew for a fact that once I got done building those projects, once I got done doing these 400 and 500 and 600 million and $1 billion jobs, I could easily work in any other industry that I wanted to work in. And that's the reason why I did that. For my finance people, if you get your Series 7 license, you can pretty much work as a financial consultant for almost anybody. When you get your MBA, it opens up so many doors. That's why I got my MBA. If you get your PMP, it opens up so many doors. So make sure you get your credentials right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. Heading out for the night. Great live show. Keep it up. Appreciate it. Thank you, Anthony. And keep up. And congratulations, bro, about FinCon. I'll be rooting for you when we get there. Okay, fam? I'll see you in Portland. Yeah, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that, boss. I appreciate that. That's how you do it, though, everybody. Make sure you have your silos. Make sure you have part-time hustles and everything going on. And for the pay raises and things of that nature, get extremely good at what you do. Be the individual that works hard, but make sure you work smart. Make sure you figure out what credentials you need to get so that you can essentially become the top 1% of the industry that you're in. And then always go for, I would say, not necessarily the hardest jobs, but go for the jobs that are going to teach you the most about what you are weak in. And that's a very uncomfortable place to be in because no one wants to feel dumb or feel stupid or feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But if you feel that way, I find in corporate, eventually the stuff that used to be extremely challenging is going to get very easy. And then the next stuff that gets extremely challenging, eventually it's going to become very easy to the point where one day you'll look up and be like, wow, I'm really, really good at what I do. And last thing I'll say is this: there's nothing wrong with getting fired sometimes. There's nothing wrong with taking a job you may or may not be qualified for and being let go of. But because you know what? It teaches you what you don't know. And then it makes you that much more dangerous about the stuff that you do want to know. And also makes you a willing person that's willing to learn. I find in corporate America, those are the type of individuals that do very, very well. So that's how you ask for a pay raise. And please, please go on as many job interviews as possible. We live in a digital age. I mean, you can be freaking living in California right now and interview for a job in Kansas, literally with the drop of a Zoom call. You can be living in Singapore. I mean, you can live in Kentucky and interview for a job in Amsterdam, literally over the phone. I mean, so literally over a Zoom call or Microsoft Teams call. So it makes no sense for you to not be interviewing for jobs, even if you're not going to take the job. Interview for it, get your game up, get your experience up, and see what happens. Okay, see where it goes. Got you. All right, well, with everybody, it's your boy Chris. I'm out. Definitely, I'm glad that you guys subscribe to the channel. Please go to my Facebook page, just like it says right here on Facebook. Please go to my Spotify page. It's called Financipation as well. Please go to my Instagram, the real _ Financipation. Please check out my scholarship book right here. It can be purchased on Amazon where I detail how I went to undergrad for free. Great content, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate it, Calvin. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, fam. I appreciate it. And it's kind of interesting, man. You're one of the guys that's seen the growth and the maturity in my life, both as a man and as a professional, and as an entrepreneur. So I appreciate that, Calvin. It means a lot coming from you, dog. It really does. It really does. Also, check out everybody. Please check out my Instagram page, the real Financipation. And check me out every Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. That everybody, it's your boy Chris. Please ask any questions before I bounce. This is a live Q&A. I can answer any financial question that you have. So please ask away before I go, all right? Let me know. So, yep. All right, with that, everybody, thank you guys for the, please support your content creators. Hit that super chat button so that you can support the content creators. Whether it's $1, our community needs us. Keep on. We'll do, Calvin, we'll do. Yep, definitely. We definitely do. What's actually interesting is that African Americans, we currently right now, what is your strategy to suggest for someone to get out of $60,000 credit card debt as fast as possible? My strategy is this: budget, figure out where your money is going, and professional interviewer, LOL. Yeah, hey, bro, it's like this: the more you do it, the better you get. Find a career that works for you and go from there. But getting out of $60,000 of credit card debt, my first question I'll ask is this: is this all under one credit card, two credit, three, multiple things? Because depending on how it is, it may not be a bad idea to do a debt consolidation loan. I'm not a very big fan of debt consolidation for one very simple reason. If you're doing stupid things with your money, consolidating all your debt into one proverbial big ball doesn't help you that much, because you don't change the problem and the root cause of the problem. The root cause of it is technically yourself. So if you have multiple forms of credit card debt, you can do it two ways: a debt shotgun, which I prefer, or the debt snowball. Debt snowball, as I'm pretty sure you're aware of, you basically write down on a sheet of paper or an Excel spreadsheet, however you want to do it, and say, okay, this is my most expensive. This is what I owe in this credit card. This is what I owe in this credit card. This is what I owe in this credit card. This is what I owe in this credit card. And then write out the APYs. So with the debt with the debt snowball, you find the lowest amount, regardless of what the interest rate is, and you pay it off. Then you pay that thing off, you go to the next one, then you go to the next one, then you go to the next one. I'm not the biggest fan of that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't take into account interest rates. And I'm a mathematician. I come from a math background, so I'm of the mindset that you should essentially pay off the most expensive debt with the highest APY first, and that's the debt shotgun. So with the debt shotgun, you say, okay, cool. Which one has the highest interest rate possible? That's the one I'm gonna aggressively tackle first. Which one has the second highest interest rate possible? That's what I'm going to attack second. Which one has a third highest interest rate? That's what I'm going to attack next, regardless of what the amounts are. I prefer that one because over the long haul, you spend significantly less money. So if you spend $5,000, so if you spend $20,000 paying off debt that has no interest rate, that's not going to help your finances nearly as much as paying $5,000 that has a 45% interest rate last. So I call it the debt shotgun and the debt snowball. But that's how I would do it. I would write out what my highest interest rate. I write out all my amounts of credit, whatever I owe. I write the interest rates, and then I would pay off the ones that had the highest interest rates first, and that had the lowest interest rates after that, and just keep going down the line. When I was in debt, when I unfortunately made a mistake and got my family in debt, that was how I did. I did the debt shotgun. So that's how I handled that. Another thing too, as well, it's not really a bad idea to get a side hustle, whether it's Uber Eats, whether it's getting whether it's Uber, whether it's basically writing, creating some e-products, things like that. It's not a bad idea. All the money that you make completely goes to keep pointing to take the payments from the loan that was just paid off, and exactly, and that exactly. I didn't say that exactly. I didn't say that. So if you're paying $2,000 for one, you take it to the other. When you pay it off, you go and you just keep rolling down the line. So you pay the minimum payment for the other card, yes. And then you can pay the minimum on the other credit cards as well. Yes. So I would pay so when I was in a lot of debt, that's how I did. I paid the absolute minimum on my other debts, and then the one that had the highest interest rate, I just went absolutely bananas, $4,000 or $5,000 a month on that one. And then when I paid that one off, I went to the next one that had the most amount of debt, and I paid that one off, and I just rolled the money until the next one and just kept it moving. That was how I did it. And I won't lie to you, it took a couple years. So yep. Everybody, please support your YouTube and your content creators. Definitely helps to feed the children fund, i.e., our children. So definitely, if you like the content, like what I'm saying, please support your content creators. Okay, please support your content creators. Any other questions, everybody? Any other questions? Another thing too I learned is this. Give yourself some grace as well. I One of the reasons that I like Financipation is because I have made just about every dumb financial choice that a young man can make. uh, Whether I mean, think what you were doing in your 20s, I was doing it. So I mean, I made all the mistakes that men make. So I come from a very unique place in that life has kind of beaten me into being very I would say empathetic about some of the stupid things and the stupid decisions and the stupid choices that we make in life. So as a result of that, I had to learn to give myself credit about some of the dumb choices and mistakes that I made. So I'm gonna say the same thing to all you guys that are listening as well. Give yourself grace, okay? Like all of us did dumb stuff, all of us made mistakes, all of us went after the wrong kind of girl, all of us basically spent money on the stupid stuff, and all of us had to basically look ourselves in the mirror and say that was very stupid. Why did you do that? And then you had to pick yourself up. And that's one of the hardest things in life that you got to learn how to do. And I would say to the men and women that are listening to this podcast and listening to this live session, that's something you're going to have to learn how to do as well. How you navigate if you're financially responsible, but your wife is not, or habits are affecting you. How do I approach the situation? All right, cool. I actually did actually dropped the podcast on this the other day. Have a conversation with your wife about what you feel is stupid. Like what you feel is stupid may not what you feel is stupid to you. It may actually be you may if you have actually have a conversation with her about why she's doing what she's doing. She may not feel that way. So have a conversation with her about how she's spending her money, how she's spending your money, how you spending you all's money, and go from there. That's the first thing. You have to have an open, honest conversation about money. Most marriages in America end for two reasons: bad sex and money. So the bad sex thing, that's a financial after dark conversation we can have. But the money thing, honestly, if she's a responsible adult and you're a responsible adult, sit down and be like, babe, let's have a conversation about money. My personal advice is to do this after. Don't do this after she's had a long, hard, miserable day at work. Do this on like a Saturday or Friday night. Y'all are chilling on the couch, the kids aren't around. Y'all are snuggled up, watching a movie, having a nice bottle of a very good brand. Don't get tipsy, obviously. Then say, hey, babe, let's have a conversation about money. Like, kind of ease your way into it because that can be a very, I learned personally, that can be a very defensive topic that people have. So, have an honest financial conversation with your wife. And I'm also gonna be real with you. Keep a very open mind because she may not be the problem with money in your household. It could be you. If you have a legitimate budget and you honestly see where you're wasting your money on, whether it's Netflix subscriptions, maybe you're going to too many NFL games, stuff like that, your wife might point out things that you're doing with the money that's completely screwing up the household that you never even thought about. So keep a honest conversation about that. One time, me and my wife had a conversation about money, and she pointed out all the money that I was spending on my firearms, and I had to shut up and be quiet because she was completely right. So, at the end of the day, that's a conversation you have to have among two adults. Another thing too, I would say is remember why you married her, remember that you love her, because don't let money come between you and the person that you decide to spend the rest of your life with. All right. Any other questions, everybody? For a bounce. Once again, support your content creators. Go to your super chats and everything. $1, $2, $3. It helps the algorithm, helps the feed the children, it helps us content creators. Okay. And also check out my scholarship book that can be purchased on Amazon. All right. Thank you to God. I appreciate the conversation. Okay. And please definitely share my content with if you find this content successful and you like it, you think it helps you, please share this stuff. I go live once a week. I drop a new podcast once a week. I do financial one-on-one sessions and everything where I literally walk you through different ways to build generational wealth, what has worked for me, what has not worked for me. And like I said, I come from a very interesting place because I made every mistake you can make about money within reason. And as a result, it's given me a certain level of empathy about people who put themselves in stupid situations as I did it all. So as a result of that, it gives me a very interesting mindset about how to get yourself out of the dumb. I almost cussed. I'm out of the dumb situations that we put ourselves in. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Going once, going twice. All right. Cool. All right. Thank you everybody for logging in. I truly appreciate it. Definitely, please share my content with your listeners. Please share my content with your friends, family members, everybody like that. At the end of the day, I truly believe that we have to get serious, regardless who's sitting in the White House. We have to get serious about our house. And at the end of the day, I created Financipation because I want to teach you how to make money. I want to teach you how to save money. I want to teach you how to invest money. I want to teach you how to build generational wealth. And I want you to teach you how to financially emancipate yourself, everybody, from generational poverty. It's your boy Chris, everybody. I'm out. Peace, peace. Shout out to the guys. Shout out to Calvin Smith. Shout out to the professor. Shout out to everybody that reached out and supported the super chat. I appreciate it. Take it easy. It's your boy Chris. I'm out. Peace. Peace.